Good evening and welcome to On Point with Ellen Whippy Knight, where we talk to inspirational Fijians wherever they may be. A pioneer in dance, Shobna Chanel's work to create a performing arts genre which highlights Fiji's multi-ethnic cultures is groundbreaking. The Shobna Chanel's dance group is particularly unique in that dancers learn to perform the authentic and often rigorous style of dance in the way it is meant to be performed. So here to discuss her vision is the founder herself, Shobna. Welcome to the show. I haven't seen you for ages, and it looks like you haven't changed a bit.
Thank you for the compliments, but it's not true.
Oh, but anyway, you look
Thank
good
you,
anyway. And I suppose dancing is one of the best forms of exercise, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
And when did you very first get involved with dance?
I started learning how to do Indian classical dance, Kathak, which is a North Indian classical dance, when I was around 5.5 years old. And that is when the Indian High Commission had the Indian Cultural Center opened in Fiji.
Yes, I remember that vividly.
Yes, a long time ago, and I haven't left since. I haven't left my connection with dance since then. Even when I got married, had babies, I continued.
Right.
So for me, there has been no break at all. So.
No, that's right. I mean, I remember you as being one of the very first organizations or dance groups or dance companies to actually start, definitely first in the Indian community. And what year was that in?
That was around 1987.
Right, so you've been in it
towards the end of 1987.
32 years now.
Yes, yes, definitely.
So what made you became a dancer, you started learning when you were 5.5 years old. From 5.5 years old in the 1971, in 1987, fast forward, you've created your Shobna Chanel dance group. Why did you do that?
There was a couple of reasons. Firstly, I think in 1988, the World Expo and the Arts Festival was going to happen. So I was approached by the government then in 1987 to prepare a small group of Indian dancers, in Indian folk dance or classical. And after the coup, there were a lot of uncertainty around the country, obviously. So I was asked by parents of younger children who were students at the cultural center, but younger than me, to try and, because things were uncertain and the classes were not normal, a lot of things had stopped.
At school class?
Yes, at the Indian Cultural Center, Indian High Commission.
Oh, right,
yes. So then they asked me if I could start teaching. Because I had been learning from such a small age and I had learned a lot of Kathak. So they asked me if I could take on and start teaching. So that's how it actually started. There were two main reasons. One was the international programs coming forth, and then the request from the younger students, to the parents to teach, yes.
And who was your actual teacher?
I had about 5 teachers maybe 6 whom I went through. They were all from India. The ones that I learned most from was, there's Satyanarayan Charka, he's in New York. He's the director of East-West School of Dance. And then there's Mrs. Shakti Roberts, she's back in India. She was in Simla, she's back in Delhi. Then I am still in touch with Mr. Charka and Mrs. Roberts.
His name is familiar.
Yes. He was one of the best. And then I learned through Mrs. Goyal. There was Tirmizi, Mr. Tirmizi, he was from Shimla too. So, and I've forgotten the last teacher's name, Kiran Bhargava, because I learned from her for a very short time. So about 5 or 6 teachers, yes. Yeah.
And Shobna, what is the main objective of the Shobna Chanel dance group?
I think there's 2 main objectives. One is obviously passing on the art to the students of Fiji, to the children of Fiji. And then the other thing which I'm really passionate about is bringing people together through dance.
Right.
And for me, it's not only about shaking a hand and a leg. It's way beyond that. So I could go teach you how to dance. You have a Diwali function, I would teach you how to do a Bollywood dance. But that's probably entertainment. I would like to do more than that. Whatever the group is doing now is we are trying to bring people together, and a lot of other groups are doing that. But I think I'm a bit more passionate about this. So when I do teach my children, my students, the basic is Indian classical dance, North Indian classical dance, which is Kathak. They must learn that first, and that takes about.
Why do they have to do that?
It's just because that's what they come there to learn. They want to learn Indian classical dance, right? So since I know Kathak, I teach them Kathak, but then when they are ready with the Indian classical dance, then only they can go venture into other things like the fusion
Right.
dance.
So it's like a foundation.
It's like their foundation, like the
Right.
ABCD of dance.
Yeah.
So they've
What is
otherwise
the base of that Kathak? Because when I was in India, you know, I went to a dance, to a theatre and watched it, and it was just absolutely amazing.
Indian Kathak dance has a lot of footwork, very intricate
Yes,
footwork,
yes, yes.
and a lot of spins.
Yes.
There's a lot of, you could do, I mean, I know my teachers could do 36 spins one shot. I was never able to do it. I could go up to 16 and that's it. But they could do double that. And the other forms of dance, for example, Bharatanatyam dance, it's with Kathak dance, we're more standing straight in, it's got very natural movements. Everything comes very naturally. You don't have to be in an uncomfortable position. Now at the same time, Bharatanatyam dance, very beautiful, one of my favorites too. And I think it's much more difficult because the dancer has to be half seated, and they dance throughout with their knees like bent.
Yes.
So those are the differences. With Kathak, it's more the spins and a lot of footwork. And a lot of things are very natural. Your movements everything is very natural. You don't have to your hand is here, you don't have to be like in an uncomfortable position. So everything is very much with your body line,
Right.
and with all other dances. And the
So
costumes
how
are
long
different.
does it take to be able to teach someone, you know,
to be able to do it really
it
well?
well.
Yes. I give it 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah, but it takes longer. If you want to take it as a career at a master's level or higher, it probably take you 6 years or so.
But how do you manage to do that? Because you've held down a full-time job for as long as I've known you. You've been at the at the New Zealand High Commission for many years. So what time do you have to do this?
I've always made sure, I've been very disciplined about it, that I use my spare time to teach this. And when people are out watching movies and having drinks and stuff, I'm at my dance class. And it doesn't mean that I don't go watch movies. I
Yes.
just try and make time another time, you know?
Right.
So I've been very strict about when I do it. And
Right.
so it was, okay, Friday afternoons after work. So people at work know that I'm packing up to move at 5 o'clock. I dash out. And I have the 2 hours of dance practice. And if I want to go to Holiday Inn or somewhere else for a couple of drinks with my friends, it'll be after that.
Right.
And so it's just balancing your time.
Yes. Well, you
And-
obviously love what you do.
Yes.
Is it very difficult to get people to attend to?
It's not
And how
difficult.
big are your classes?
It's I also teach at the Indian High Commission now.
Yes,
I teach
you do.
Kathak there. So it's 2 hours per day I spread it out within three days. So it's Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, so about 8 hours a week. Each student gets about 2 to 4 hours a week.
Right.
And
Is that enough?
No, it's not enough. But that's how I have to manage.
Right. Well, it's better than nothing, isn't it?
It's better than nothing. And one is, in Fiji, how students are more academically, they've been pushed to be more
Academic.
Yes.
Absolutely. I have a major problem with that. But
Yes.
anyway, that's another story.
That's another story. So you've got to make sure that you balance it in such a way that the students' studies don't get affected, the parents are not,
Yes.
angry about it or disappointed, and at the same time they're able to learn.
Yes.
So while the learning process may take longer than 3 years, in Fiji's context, with my experience, within 3 years, if a child is really gifted, they should pick up things within a year, 1 year.
Okay, let's hold it right there. And we'll come back and talk some more after this break. We've just been talking to Shobna Chanel about her fabulous school of dance, retaining the culture of the Indian way of life. And we'll be back to talk about where she's taken this group to and exactly what's happening with it. Welcome back to On Point with Ellen Whippy Knight and Shobna Chanel. Shobna, your group has gone around the world and represented Fiji. One of the questions I wanted to ask was, does it seem to be unusual when you're at an international festival that there are an Indian group representing Fiji, which is meant to be a typical, tropical island with Melanesian style people, instead of an Indian group from India representing this type of dance?
Yes, definitely. We have been asked. I mean, people are curious,
Right.
and they sort of are not able to relate until we explain to them why we're from Fiji and why we are Fijians.
Yes.
So yes, we have been questioned at the airport while checking in, and at the performance venues, you know. So yes, we have been asked. Yeah. I think people are getting more, if I compare maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago to now, people are more used to it. But that time, I think there was more, you know, questions, and people were more inquisitive.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Well, obviously they've been quite observant, aren't they?
Yes.
They've seen that, you know, you don't have all this, the afro and all the woodinga. I watched a performance of yours, and it was at the FMF car park, the FMF stadium, in the car park there, and that was many years ago.
Yes.
And I was so impressed, because what you did was, it was the first time I had actually ever seen anybody, a fusion of Indian and Fijian cultural dances and iconic cultural dances like the meke, put together. And then the other loveliest bit of that was that it was a Fijian boy doing the Fijian meke and the Indian girl doing the classic Indian dancing, and it was so elegant and so beautiful. How did you come up with that idea?
Actually, I was inspired by Usha Uthup. Do you know Usha Uthup? She's a very famous Indian singer.
Right.
And she had come to Fiji in the 1990s. And
Living here?
No, she came to sing. She came to do a show. So I think one of the things is when she goes to this, whichever country she sings, she opens the show with the song of that country.
Right.
So she sang Erambini Tu.
Oh,
Erambini, yeah.
Yes.
And when she sang that song, she's like, you couldn't believe that it was an Indian from India singing that song.
Right.
Her pronunciation was just perfect. So every morning I used to hear that song over the radio, and then that sort of just said, okay, if she can come from India and sing a song, why can't I do a dance on that?
Yes.
And that's the first instant that I decided, okay, let me try a fusion.
Because no one else had done it by that stage.
No one else had done it.
Do you know what year it might have been?
It would have been mid-90s, 94, 93, around that time,
like that.
Yeah. And then what I did, I added to it the costumes too. I designed myself, so I made sure that the costumes depicted both cultures in terms of using mangi and Indian designs in the jewelry and all that. So it was like I wasn't very sure when I went into that, because I didn't know how people would take it.
Would react to it.
Would react to it, yes, both sides, right? And then some of my friends said, no, I don't think you should do it. It's too sensitive. Right. And then others more were encouraging than discouraging. So I just, as an artist, you normally don't want to be scared of these things. No. So I tried that.
Because it limits your creativity.
That's right, exactly. And then it was loved by more people than not liked by, you know.
There were people who didn't like it?
Yes. Nobody has told me that directly on my face, but I know, you know how you listen to whispers and rumors. But nobody has actually come and said, no, you shouldn't be doing it. I know I've been told once there was a discussion in Parliament, not whoever was the government at that time, that somebody objected to it.
Objection obviously wasn't adhered to.
No, it wasn't.
You ignored it.
Ignored it, because majority of the people were happy with it, and it was the way. And music and dance is no barrier, you know. Like,
no,
it shouldn't separate people. I've always been saying that it should bring people together. So it hasn't stopped me, and you know, we've gone places with it, and people just love it.
Yes, I thought it was particularly excellent. You've represented the group at all these, at major flagship multiracial events. How do you fundraise? How do you take the groups there? You've got a full-time job. All these young people obviously not working. And students. How does that happen?
We've got some very kind people who help us.
Right.
And obviously if we're representing the government, we don't have to fundraise. But we've been to India a few times where we've got to look for our own airfares, and they look after us once we're in India.
Yes.
Local
Generally
hospitality.
Is some of the way,
yes.
Isn't it?
So we've sold food, and we've had people sponsor us. We write to people. And I'd like to mention Joel Sahai, Mr. Joel Sahai. Right. He's been very, very helpful behind the scene. Whenever I approach him, he writes letters, he asks his friend, business houses, and few other business houses. I don't know if it's okay to mention them, but we've got Tapu Group who, always with open arms and saying, yes, we'll assist the group. And the girls do their own little fundraising at home and all that, and that's how we've managed.
So the people in your group who come to learn these cultural dances, what's in it for them? Why do they do this? Obviously, they're young people, they're at school, they're going to go to university. Where does it go to from there? It's not wasted, is it?
No, it's not wasted. Now, when they start, I think, especially with the Indo-Fijian girls, it's more a push from the parents. The parents want them to, learn a bit of their own culture. Now, my group is very much multiracial, so we've got all other races who learn Indian dance.
Right.
What I'm trying to do, I hate to say this, but a lot of the students, after they've reached high school or maybe university, they've either migrated or left because they can't cope the work-life balance. Right, they've left. But I still have those who stay. I've got a couple of students in New Zealand who teach.
Right.
Who teach. And I've currently got one or two students. Actually, my lead dancer is an Ethoke student.
Oh, right.
Her name is Patricia Numateiwalu, and she's just gifted. I'm sure I didn't dance like her when I was young.
Right.
She's just so perfect. And
she's doing both.
Her meke, traditional meke.
The fusion.
Yes. She does pure classical. She has learned Kathak so well. She does it so well. And I think my group of how do I say it? The non-Indian students, I hope I've said it right.
Yes,
I just want to be.
Yes.
They are the only ones who learn classical Indian dance.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying Bollywood is easy. It's not. But I always say, I'm probably, I don't know. I always say that it's easier to do a Bollywood dance than to do classical, and I know I'm right there.
Yes.
But in our group, our group is the only one where you'll find Itoke girls learning classical Indian dance, right? And they do it really well. And these ones have been with me for about 10 to 12 to 14 years. Now, Patricia, I'm going away on holiday for a month.
Right.
So
it's not a dance holiday.
No, it's not a dance holiday.
So eventually you can have a good holiday without work.
That work, yes. So Patricia is going to be looking after my beginner students.
Right.
And
how
this is the
old
first.
How old? What's the age group?
5 to 60 plus.
Right.
So my youngest is about 5.5. The oldest would be 65, 67.
Oh, Jeep says hope for me left.
Yes, definitely. So what if any student wants to go towards teaching dance or choreography, like Patricia has shown interest, but she's studying at USP. So what we've told her parents, and I've had a discussion, and we've spoken to her and said, look, finish your degree, and then I'm going to help her to go further. So with whatever dance she's learned from me, if she wants to go overseas or she wants to go to India to...
And you mean make a career out of
That's
it?
right, yes.
That is excellent,
yes,
absolutely excellent. We'll take a little break here and we'll come back and we'll talk some more to Shobna Chanel about her dance group and exactly where they're going to from here on. Welcome back to On Point with Ellen Whitty Knight, and I'm having a great conversation with Shobna Chanel, the founder of the Shobna Chanel Dance Group. We're going to go into the future plans for this very important group. So Shobna, where to from here? I know you mentioned there's the Arts Festival in Hawaii next year.
Yes.
And you'll be taking your group. How big will that group be?
I normally take about, and that's due to financials, we take around 9 to 10 dancers and myself,
Right.
so about 11 of us in general, yeah. That should be fine. That's the plan at the moment.
Right.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get selected to go. And as far as plans is concerned, we take it by the year. Like we for example, if I'm going away for a holiday, we've already planned for October, November, and December. So I've told the girls what I had to teach till the end of the year. When I'm away, they'll be rehearsing and polishing up things. So it's just planning as we go along. If we don't go to too many programs out of the country, it's simply because unless it's sponsored.
Right.
Because we can't afford it.
Yes.
So, but I think one of the main dreams of the group is, I don't know whether dream is the right word, but is probably have more collaboration within the other groups, groups.
In Fiji, because there are a number of other groups here.
Yes. While we have worked with the Oceania more than Rako. I guess I was very close to Ellen and then Peter after that. So, what I see missing is, fine, we get invited to go, there's a dance show, we go perform and come back. But what I would like to see is the group heads or the group seniors all sitting and discussing, I would like to know a bit more about Rutuman dance.
Right.
A bit more about the taboos around our amekes, And I'm sure they want to know too. So we need to have chats, we need to have meetings where we monthly, fortnightly, whatever, where we understand each other's art more, and
so
not
you're
just
talking more. So, are you thinking of more fusion dances between the two different cultures?
Yes, that's going to remain. That's definitely going to be. I mean, we've already selected our music for next year's production, fusion dance.
Right.
That's going to remain, but it's more to create more understanding.
Right.
See, going and dancing, okay, everybody says, oh, it's a nice fusion dance. But I think as a choreographer, as a teacher, and you as a student perhaps should also understand, okay, you know, this is how the Rutuman dance is done, and you shouldn't be doing this, where you should be seated, what you should be wearing. We'd like to understand the protocols more, and I don't think that's happening.
Right. Do you think, though, when you're fusing two different cultures together, you could potentially be missing certain elements, because you can't, a fusion means taking the best out of both and putting them together.
That's right.
That you could be missing out on, you know, certain aspects which could be important. How do you pick what you think is the important part of that culture to include into Indian dance?
That's right. That's definitely right. What I do is I always take help from my Ethiopian friends to come and see, and we're doing it right. But the other thing is, because it's contemporary, the fusion is contemporary in itself, so we can probably, you know, get away with things, but I would like to do it right, though.
Yeah. Is that like having a bit of poetic license?
That's yes. So that's why I think going forward, I mean, not just for my group, for all the other group, people who are passionate about this, you know, we all have our the classical and the cultural part of it. But when we're going fusion, or even if we're not going fusion, I would like to know a bit more, you know, and what better is than just sitting and talking, having a Thalanova session.
Well, you should, I mean, everybody should be a member of the Fiji Arts Council.
Yes.
And these monthly meetings should happen anyway, because, you know, fashion is now becoming, you know, now an association. Models have their own association.
That's
and
right.
we're all part and parcel of this creative, cultural industry, which is on the rise globally.
That's right.
You know, governments are now understanding and recognizing that this is an important part of our community and daily lives. One of the things about dance, though, which is always so exciting to look at dance, is not just the dances, but it's the costumes involved. How do you get around that?
Again, fundraising.
I mean, look at your dress. That is just gorgeous.
Thank you.
And, you know, with the costumes, that makes the performance.
Yes, it's expensive. I think Indian costumes are very expensive. So we mix and match a lot, and we fundraise if we need to get some more. And also, now that I'm engaged with the Indian High Commission, they also support us with costumes.
Right.
So
must weigh a ton when you're going traveling.
Yes, but I'm becoming smarter now. We just take a few things and we mix and match more.
Right.
Previously, again, 10, 15 years ago, we used to have a different change for each dance, and that used to be a lot. Now we probably change the top and not the skirt, or just change the dupatta, the veil. You know, so I'm getting a bit more smarter now in that area, yes. But yes, it does cost a lot.
And who designs the costumes?
I design the costumes. I design.
Do you get input from your...
Yes, I was going to say that. I always, so for the next costume, I'll tell them, girls, look, let's first think which colors we don't have. Now you tell me how you want it. I'll have the final say, because obviously I've got to look at the modesty of the girls, their sisters, their mothers, you know, their daughters. So, and young generation would want, you know, a bit something more, probably too open or a little bit open. So I have a call there, but they must input, so that develops them also. I mean, I'm not going to be here all my life, so they need to learn.
You've got to have a succession plan.
That's right. Yes.
But you know, that succession plan, probably don't need to install that for another 20, 30 years, Shobna, with the way you're going now. So what next for you in general?
I don't have any huge things planned. I mean, huge plans, but what I definitely want to, one is my student Patricia, if I'm going to go really deep down into trying to get somebody ready, as you said, to probably take over, and then a bit more vigorous into our fusion items, a bit more vigor into it. And when I say vigor, I don't mean to be in the movement itself, but probably maybe bigger productions. At the moment, it's mostly dance, and maybe shorten 3 minutes to 5 minutes, but maybe a bit more, with having a bit more Indian classical dance. At the moment, it's mostly my Kathak dance, a bit of Bharatanatyam, and the Itoke, the Meke.
Right.
But what I want to do now is bring the other classical dances of India into it, and maybe also include the other dances in Fiji, like Rutuman and Kiribati.
What do you think's been the highlight of your career? in terms of the Shobna Chanel dance school?
I think it's when people relate us to the fusion items.
Yes,
Yes. I think that is
I
that has been
completely gobsmacked with that.
Yes, and when in town, when I'm walking in town, I've got the shoeshine boys who say Shobna Chanel, Shobna Chanel. You know? So that that really touches me, because yes, you've actually not gone to those people. It's just the grassroots people too that you have touched.
Yes,
and who and they make a difference. So I think it's just being able to have that signature. I think our dance group, even though we start with basic Indian classical dance, it's more the fusion dance which is our signature, not the Indian classical.
But you're a brand now. You're a brand in yourself now. Shobna Chanel, the boys, the shoeshine
yes,
boys.
people say that. Yes.
And the shoeshine boys should know, because they sit there every day and they know who goes up and down every day, sort of thing. So it's a proud moment for you too.
Yes,
that
it is,
people have recognised the work that you do. What do you think one of the what does the industry need to be able to flourish? Because one of the things I do realise is that there is no actual central cultural centre in Suva.
Yes.
Well, in Fiji.
Yes.
Well, let's say Suva, because it is the capital of the country.
Yes.
Why is that?
I think first of all, I'll go back to your earlier statement, is we need to start from school. I don't think there's a lot of emphasis given on performing arts.
Yes. It needs to go back.
It needs to go back to schools where we have professional teachers.
Yes.
As part of the curriculum, professional teachers teaching dance or music, and not just for one period a week. It should be a choice later on in high school or in college, where if I want to be a dance teacher, if I want to be a music teacher, I should be prepared. I should have my diploma or my master's or my certificate, whatever it takes, to be able to be ready for that. Not after I've completed Form 7 and then I don't know what I want to do. I probably haven't done well in Form 6 or Form 7. That leaves you probably the time also, because you haven't learned the core part when you were younger and when you can grasp a lot of things, and you've left it to an older age.
Yes.
And then I'm not saying it's wrong to do it later. What I'm trying to say is, let's do it from our school level and the education level, and then move on from there. Then people have more definite directions where to go. Now, as far as a cultural center, performing center, it is definitely needed. And we have the Arts Council, we have the Oceania, we have all the different groups, we have Shobna Chanel group, whatever. But where do we all come together? Is it only when we have those?
Point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you need it. And, my question to you, and we're going to close on this, is that I asked you what's in store for your future, and I think here's half of the response. And I think you, being the first person to start up such an organisation, such a dance group, should probably be quite instrumental in looking and talking to the powers that be about getting a creative centre in Fiji. So hopefully one day I'll have you back on the show and I will ask you that question: what did you do since the last show, and has this happened?
Yes, that's a challenge now, Ellen, and I'm definitely going to take it forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Shobna. Well, you've been on point with Shobna Chanel and myself, Ellen Whippy Knight. We hope to see you back here again next Monday, 8:30, same time, same place.